Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage. New documents that just dropped tonight show Idaho prosecutors have some more heavy ammo against him in his quadruple murder case. We have been kept from these details for 2.5 years. That pesky gag order has seen to it. But little by little, morsels of information are dropping in the way of pretrial court documents, and tonight, a bombshell. We already knew that Kohberger's Amazon history showed that he bought a K-bar knife, according to the prosecutors, and a K-bar sheath and a sharpener months before the murders. And we also learned that he searched for what the prosecutors call a replacement knife and sheath after the murders. Convenient. Today, we learned that whoever's fingers were doing the walking on that Amazon account looked for ways to delete that shopping history right after the murders. Bad fact. Prosecution documents also show that the K-bar knife and sheath were, quote, shipped to Brian Kohberger at his family address in Pennsylvania, end quote. The documents continue with, quote, after the homicides. Activity from the same account showed the user navigated pages related to the deletion of account activity, and a week later viewed pages associated with K-bar knife and sheath. This evidence establishes significant connection between defendant and K-bar knife and sheath.
TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter is tracing those steps tonight.
Just hours after police say 4 college students were brutally stabbed inside this home in the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, the alleged killer returned to the scene. Brian Koberger's cell phone allegedly shows him here at 9:12 a.m. and staying for about 10 minutes.
Finally, as the chief indicated, this is not the end of this investigation. In fact, this is a new beginning.
I'd like to give a quick update to the community. Starting Friday morning, we are going to be bringing in a professional cleaning crew to go to the residents and begin cleaning. Part of the reason we're doing that is because of the biohazards as well as chemicals that were used during the investigation. So there will be activity over at that residence on King Road, and we just want people to know about that. I'd like to update everybody on the amount of tips that we've received. Number one, because we've received a lot more tips here recently and we're continuing to investigate those and follow up on those. We've received over 19,650 tips. Email-wise, 9,025 of those have come in. Phone-wise, 4,575, and we've received over 6,050 digital tips. We want to thank the community for all their help and thank everybody across the nation for the help that they've given us.
You talk about what happens next. What is the next step in this process? Because this is really only the beginning.
Well, obviously, thank you for having me. But obviously, the next step is his formal indictment and initial appearance. Again, I'm also assuming that this is a man. But I think, too, the thing that's fascinating to me is I am interested in understanding how long this person was on law enforcement's radar, only because in recent interviews that we saw with the Moscow chief, he kind of kept alluding to almost punting things to the prosecution. If the prosecution will let me, if the prosecution will let me. And I found that to be extremely telling, especially being a former FBI agent. There were so many times we would go on things, bank robberies, things of that nature, where you basically would catch the person red-handed, and the prosecution still wanted more information because they want to be sure that they are getting a conviction, and that's a good thing. And so I'd be interested to know how long this person had been on law enforcement's radar for.
And, we're going to be getting this update from police. We can see on the screen there, 4 p.m. Okay. Eastern. It's going to be coming on 1 p.m. local time. Tracy, talk about what we will learn. What all will investigators reveal? Because there's so many times we receive updates from investigators, from authorities, and a lot of times they don't tell much, but there are reasons for that.
Right, and you're absolutely right. Obviously, they're not going to most likely go into the methods that they use, sources and methods, right, to capture this person, because that tips their hand to the defense and could perhaps, break open their entire case. And they don't want to do that to the public right now. They've been obviously very close to the vest in the things that they have released and not released, and very purposeful in that. I think that you are going to get the name of this suspect. That would be my best guess. This is not a minor. This is a 25-year-old. So you will most likely get the name, and then from that, they may tell you whether or not this was a person that was known to the victims or not known to the victims, or it may be obvious, whatever their name is. And that may be it. You may get some information perhaps on the role that white Hyundai Elantra played. I would suspect that could have been what broke this case. Also, perhaps cell phone data as well. I mean, the reality is criminals are imperfect. Everyone's imperfect and they do mess up. But I don't think you are going to perhaps get a motive right away, because those are all things that they're going to use in court unless this person confesses immediately and takes a plea.
All right, Tracy Walder, we thank you so much for your time.
I couldn't verify that right now anyway. That's part of that sealed piece, but there's still items coming in from the lab.
From the murder scene?
Correct.
Okay, so the evidence we saw being gathered yesterday, that could take just as long.
That will be new information that we've collected, and we'll be processing that as well.
I asked you during the press conference yesterday about the house cleaning. I mean, you had said in your announcement that the house is going to be cleaned and turned back over to the management company. Mm-hmm. We watched those trucks come in, and then they pulled out of there real fast. Yeah. What happened? Like
we said, we got a phone call that it was through the court that we needed to stop and give a little bit more time, so we did that. So,
why was the decision made to release the house?
Well, at that point in time, we were ready to start that process. And then the court, like I said, someone from the court asked us to stop that process, so we did. And we'll continue to do as we're asked there, and we'll start the cleanup as soon as we can again.
Why would the court want that process stopped? Or?
It could be many reasons. Could be for the defense counsel. It could be that they just want to hold it for a little bit. But it was a decision from the court.
So it will remain under guard. Should we refer to it as an active crime scene?
It's still our crime scene at this point. So yeah, it'll still be under security.
Is that they woke up later in the morning, they recognized that something was amiss as far as they believed that the roommate wouldn't wake up. They called some friends, the friends came over, they called 911, and that's when the officers arrived.
Police say multiple people spoke with the 911 dispatcher before an officer arrived.
You have victims with multiple stab wounds. How does that translate to my roommate's passed out and won't wake up?
So I haven't seen the scene, and I'm not exactly sure what they saw in the morning. But what we believe we know is that when they woke up, they believed that the roommate was still passed out, wasn't responding, and they called some friends.
Responding to what?
I'm not sure.
Detectives do not believe anyone at the scene was involved in the crime.
And I know some of the investigators' vehicles and police vehicles are coming in and out of the driveway. Do you think that potentially could disturb any tire marks or other evidence?
Yeah, so the question has been asked about why did the crime scene tape expand, and that's not uncommon. When the first officers arrived, they tried to cordon off what they thought was important. We immediately expanded that when the investigators got there to process the scene. And logically, as this progresses, and you've seen this through our press releases, we have expanded it to several areas of the city and have in fact canvassed entire neighborhoods. So we try very, very hard to uncover every single bit of evidence possible in an area before we move on to the next area. So yes, we've looked at everything that we think we need to look at in and around the crime scene at this point.
that's what it was, though. I will be honest with you. I think it's closer than that. I think it's deeper than that. I think I think they have information that they're not giving us, and it's real fishy. That's what I will say.
When you say you think it goes deeper than that, what do you mean?
I mean, I think it was somebody closer than a stalker, and I don't know who. I'm not gonna specify anything like that. I'm just going to say I think that it was somebody, you know, and I think possibly they may have trusted. That's the only thing I can think of, because how could something like this happen so quickly, so quietly, so without any answer, unless it was somebody super close to them. You know what I mean?
Do you think the person who did this had been in that house before?
I think they knew them. I think they may have even been friends with them. I think it had to have been somebody close to them to have been able to get away with it like this. Just without, you know, it just doesn't make sense. None of this makes any sense. It had to have been somebody they trusted that was, you know what I mean? I mean, somebody who knew the house well, somebody who knew them well.
It seemed like something more devious to the FBI. Unknown to either the father or the son, the Bureau had been determined to keep a watchful eye on that white Hyundai's trek across America. Only sources in law enforcement would confide with a bristle of embarrassment not long after the car had pulled out of its space in the graduate housing parking lot fronting 1630 Northeast Valley Road in Pullman, Washington. They lost it. For several alarming hours or more, the authorities are keeping the precise details of the screw-up very close to the vest for reasons you could understand. The chief suspect in a quadruple homicide that had shocked the nation had seemingly vanished. The Bureau's watchers called it a hat box operation, and the jargon was a throwback to an era when G-men sporting fedoras would be out in force on the street to monitor a target's every move. A sea of hats would box the suspect in. These days, the watchers have a few more tricks at their disposal. Undercover vehicles, surveillance vans, low-flying fixed-wing planes, and that's just for starters. But the name has stuck. And the surveillance on Brian Kohlberger, according to published reports and interviews with officials, was hatbox all the way. But as Kohlberger headed across the country, in the very car they believed had been captured in the blurry surveillance footage, his father mystifyingly at his side, they had lost him even before the hatbox op could get underway. A mood of panic rapidly escalated into one of despair. Frantically, they began to search the records of automated license plate readers, or ALPRs, in nearby states. It was an exercise in futility. Nothing. Not a single hit. Then they got lucky. U.S. Route 6 passes straight through the small town of Loma, Colorado. And 8 years ago, the Colorado Department of Transportation thought it was high time to install Loma's first traffic light. It went up in 2015 at the bustling, things being relative, of course, intersection of Route 6 and Highway 139. It wasn't long after that when the engineers decided they might as well affix an ALPR to the light pole. And on December 13th, it caught Washington State Plate CFB 8708, the white 2015 Elantra, registered to Brian Kohlberger.
How's it going, guys? Casey, I'm just going to loop around up here. Hey there.
Hey ladies, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We're not actually. I don't know. No, I don't.
Here for noise complaint. Yeah, they did.
Get on the damn door.
Hey, who's the owner or who lives here?
I can go get them real quick.
Okay, thank you, please.
This is what the other group had that ran away.
Oh, really?
They just ditched it. Awesome. Yeah, those ones kept walking in the car, and the other one wrapped the back corner. Ain't the property. Check that back.
There's a lot of fucking alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
I said lot.
I don't know what sorority lives here.
He's got an 1122.
Yeah. That's what it is. Like, as soon as he has the top cover, blend into the darkness. Yeah.
Hello.
What's your name?
Xana.
Xana, do you live here?
Yes.
Okay, did Megan talk to you earlier?
No.
Okay, does Megan live here?
Megan, I do not have a Megan that lives
Megan Mogan?
Maddie Mogan, yes.
Madison Mogan? Yeah. Madison Mogan? Okay, she does.
Well, Whitney, at this hour, this crime scene still remains active, and it's Idaho State Police.
So heartbreaking what these families are going through. I had the chance to sit down with the Gonzalez family in Kaylee's home. Their loss, it is so heavy, and they have been vocal about their relentless search for justice and frustrations with the investigation. Here is part one of our conversation.
You know, she was hurt so bad that she was not able to recover. That is just terrible.
Oh, it's okay.
It's terrible. And I cannot fathom in my head what kind of person did this.
It's capable.
And why. I can't sleep at night. I lay in bed pondering just millions of different scenarios. And just, I want to know, but then there's stuff obviously you don't want to know, you know, but
You just cry.
I think I want to know it all, and
You're okay.
I just don't understand why. How somebody can take somebody, four of them, it wasn't just my girl, just so savagely.
Is anyone acting differently since the murders? I mean, is there anyone that you have a weird feeling about that the girls knew or that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say not in the immediate circle by any means, but a few of the names that have been circulating around, I think it's hard not to kind of, you know, dig into this. And I don't know how much of that is just because we have so little information from law enforcement and how much of it really is, you know, a sister or a father's intuition.
Can you elaborate at all? I don't know. You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he shouldn't have been. And yeah.
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss.
An hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that, you know, definitely should have been looked at, and yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like,
She had the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss.
An hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that, you know, definitely should have been looked at, and yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Were all found in a house just steps away from the University of Idaho campus. That was around noon on Sunday. Police have been keeping a lot of that information close, as we said, regarding this investigation. At a press conference just yesterday, the Moscow police chief laid out what they are willing to share with the public. Well, police confirmed all 4 students killed by a knife. However, they have not recovered that weapon. They also confirmed the victims were the only ones in the house when the bodies were found. 2 other roommates, though, were home at the time. Police say they were not hurt. They also believe there was no forced entry into the home. They gave more details about the scene just yesterday.
We're not 100% sure if the door was unlocked, but there was no damage to anything, and the door was still open when we got there.
Do you know inside the house whether the victims' doors were locked into their individual rooms?
I don't know that.
Officers, meanwhile, proceeded with haste to the second floor. They opened the bedroom door to find 2 dead bodies, a male and a female. The pair was gruesomely drenched in blood, yet both had their good-looking faces oddly preserved, like masks. Even at that probing moment, it was difficult, one of the young officers would later nearly wail, to look at the 20-year-old pair. They were Ethan and Xana. Across the narrow hallway was one final door. The officers pulled it open, and at last, they discovered a sign of life, a fluffy caramel-colored dog. It was Murphy, Kaylee's frisky labradoodle. He was unharmed, not marred by even a speck of blood. A small consolation, and barely one at that, for all they had seen and were only beginning to process. When the 911 call came in, Gunderson had a corporal and 2 other officers on duty to assist with patrol. He could have left the response to them. He certainly, he'd tell people with a hint of embarrassment, had no intimation of something out of the ordinary. That morning, he was simply eager to break the monotony. And as always, he felt strongly it was important for him to get out on the street where people could see him. He swiftly decided he'd go to the scene too, with his officers. It was a quick trip. The roads leading into the university neighborhood that Sunday were as empty as the classrooms. And as soon as Gunderson's black and white cruiser pulled up behind the neat row of cars parked in the driveway of the austere, cantilevered house on King Road, he immediately knew something was very wrong. It was the noise. There wasn't any. Just an eerie, unnatural silence. A cluster of young people were wandering about, not merely subdued, they seemed stunned, as if drained by a deep and intense shock. When the 3 mystified officers approached the front door, someone in the crowd, it would later be shared, muttered a single plaintive word: dead. Still, Gunderson would confess to others he was unprepared for the strong smell of blood that rose up in his nostrils the moment he walked inside. The coroner.
11:55 a.m. 42 seconds, November 13, 2022.
911 location of your emergency.
Something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, we gotta go check. But we have to. Did you pass out? What's wrong? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you. What's wrong?
again. How old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20. Here's one.
Okay.
Hello? Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay, sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You should talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them.
Hello?
Okay. I have already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again? There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m. 49 seconds, November 13, 2022.